1, 2, 3, come on!
Good day, guys. My name is Jefferson B. Torero, and we are the Team 4. Our topic is none other than the software. Now, the software is the second component of information system. It is the contrast of the physical hardware, which is built in the system and actually performed to work. Kinreate po siya para mag-instruct, mag-command, or mag-dictate sa hardware kung anong gagawin po niya. It is also created through the process of programming. Para po siyang sa katawan po natin, software is the brain itself and the heart that commands and dictates the computer system, and the hardware is like the organs. So they need to work together. Hindi po siya mag-work ng isang performer ng task kung hindi po sila compatible sa isa't isa o kaya may isang disabled sa kanila. And the next one, there are two subcategories of software. The first one is the operating system and the application software. That the interfaces of the user. Ito pong diagram na ito, it shows that the user interface in application software in typical desktop computer. Na kapag in-open nyo po ang application, dadaan po siya sa operating system, and then the operating system, siya po yung magsisilbing magra-run ng every application na gagamitin ni user. And then the operating system will go to hardware. This hardware will serve as the authorization na kung okay yung application, i-run. So the flow will go back to the operating system. If it's good to go, then the operating system will open the applications for the user. So the first one in two subcategories I'm going to tell about is the operating system. The operating system itself is the one that manages the system inside the software and balance it what would be the limitation of one's system. Sinusupport niya din po ang mga system functions such as executing applications, controlling peripherals, and then scheduling tasks. And the operating system provides several essential functions, including managing the hardware resources of the computer. The second is providing the user interface components. The third one is the platform for the software developers to write applications. Next, please. So in all computing device in operating system, there are popular operating system we use up until now. So the first one is the Microsoft Windows. The second one is the Apple's OS X. And the third one is not very popular, the Linux. Next, please. So the background I'm going to tell first is the Apple OS X, which is created 1984. And the name of the first Apple OS X ever created is the Macintosh. Although it's not much doing a good perform in terms of performing a task, but it has the good graphical user interface, and it also computer system itself. And in 1985, which is the Microsoft first ever created, the Windows 1.0. Although hindi po siya matatawag na isang operating system kasi po nasa isa siyang list or DOS, which is the list operating system. And not much na hindi rin siya kasing ganda ng graphical user interface in terms na ginawa nung Apple, which is Macintosh. Next slide, please. And then in 1990, the Windows, the Microsoft created the second Windows, which is version 3.0. At andito na po nakita nila ang success in terms of developing their graphical user interface. Not just for graphical user interface, but also it holds the IBM, which is the IBM is also the computer system that builds in businesses world or in other related companies, which is in workplace or offices. IBM is compatible with the Windows 3.0 that created by Microsoft. So, palagi na po silang magkasama in terms of businesses world, and the graphical user interface is updated and upgraded by the Microsoft. Next, please. The third popular operating system is the Linux. The Linux is created by Linus Torvalds. Linus Torvalds created the first Linux version, which is called Unix. It is popular in every scientist and engineers because Linux can perform a large system in many computers, which alam naman po natin ng mga scientists at engineers, marami pong ginagawa at a time. And then Linus created another version which he calls now the Linux. Linux, marami po siyang variation na nagawa ni Linus, and it also powers the large percentage of web servers in the world, and it was also example of open source software which will be tackled and discussed by my members. Next, please. Now, are you the side of Mac or a Windows? Kasi po, up until now, alam po natin na ang Mac at Windows ay nagko-compete pa rin. Since 1990, after the IBM and DOS were compatible in each other, ang Windows po ay nag-upgrade na po siya ng mga different versions. Like upgrading their multitasking and application data, and then adding some memories. Just like the Apple Macintosh. Nakipag-compete na rin po sila sa isa't isa. At ang Apple Macintosh po kasi, sa ngayon, alam din po natin na popular po siya sa mga kilalang mga tao, mga artista, singer, or sa mga technology companies. And then, pero ang most dominant po in terms of business world, alam po natin is the Microsoft. Pero bakit nga po ba naging dominant ang Microsoft in terms of business world? Una po dyan ay yung sinabi ko po kanina na IBM, which is the International Business Machine. IBM po kasi, na-create po siya unang-una 1981. Pero ginagamit na po siya noong 1960 and 1970. What I mean is 1981 is the first IBM computer system ever created. And then the next one is in 1984 is the Apple Macintosh. So dalawa lang po ang computer system that time. And the Microsoft Windows, which is 1.0 and 3.0, is only a DOS. And then the executive, nagpasya po siya na maghanap ng executive ng IBM po, nagpasya po siya na maghanap po ng mas reliable at mas magandang operating system na magko-compatible din po sa ginawa nilang computer system na IBM. So they choose the Windows, which is DOS that time. So the result is good and they were compatible in each other. So every year na nag-upgrade, magkasabay po sila na nag-upgrade in terms of paglalagay po ng other multitasking, other application, and dagdag po ng memory. And then the Apple Macintosh, sinasabi po nila na ang Windows po ay gaya-gaya dahil sa pagdating sa mga paggawa ng operating system. And they were dependent naman po because unang-una po, kasi ang ginawa ng Windows, DOS lang po siya. Hindi siya accurately na naging computer system or operating system eh. Pero ang unang ginawa ng Apple Macintosh is full na siya. Naka-computer system and then may sariling operating system. So the IBM mainframe computers back in 1960 and 1970, this same business side away from personal computers until IBM released the PC in 1981, just like I've said. Next, please. So as the network personnel computer began to replace the mainframe computer as the primary way of computing inside business, it became essential for Microsoft to give businesses the ability to administer and secure the networks. Microsoft developed business-level servers products to go along with their personal computer products, thereby providing complete business solutions. And so, up until now po, magkasama po ang IBM and the Microsoft. So that's why the Microsoft is more dominant in business world rather than the Apple Macintosh, which is na-implement din po naman hanggang ngayon and nag-upgrade, nag-operate. Kasi nag-provide din po siya sa mga ibang schools, other university, ng mga computers. So, and that's all po for the operating systems. And the next topic will be discussed is the second subcategory of software, which is the application software that will be discussed by my co-member, Ms. Diane Alvarez.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, classmates. I'm Diane Alvarez, and my report is about application software. If you have to write a paper, you might use the application software program Microsoft Word. So application software is capable of dealing with user input and helps the user to complete the task. So without application software, most computers or mobile would be useless. Killer app. There are generally a small group of technology enthusiasts who will purchase it just for the joy of figuring how it works. However, for most of us, until a device can actually do something useful, we are not going to spend our hard-earned money on it. So, killer application. Nagiging killer app ang isang application kapag maraming tumatangkilik o na nag-run ng application. So, when a company is able to achieve a killer app for its console, they will generally earn profit for the length of time it can keep the killer app exclusive to its console. So, in 1979, Digital is personal computer spreadsheet package was introduced. It was an immediate hit and drove sales of the Apple II. So, Digital is the examples of killer apps and also the Nintendo video game. Productivity software. Productivity software allow office employees to complete their daily work. Many times, these applications come packaged together, such in Microsoft Office Suite. Productivity software is a category of application programs used for producing information such as documents, presentations, and databases. So, yung nasa baba po ay application interface function, word processing. This class of software provides for the creation of written documents. So, sa word processing po, para po sa mga written documents where you can edit ng text, format, fonts, and paragraphs. Examples po ng word processing ay Adobe Copy, Kingsoft Writer, and Evernote. Spreadsheet. This class of software provides a way to do numeric calculation and analysis. The working area is divided into rows and columns. So, sa spreadsheet po, spreadsheet is help to arrange, calculate, and sort of data. It is used to create a budget, using paragraphs and charts. Landspar was the first electronic spreadsheet on mainframe and time-sharing computers in 1969. Presentation. This class of software provides for the creation of slideshow presentation. The presentation naman po is supposed to help both the speaker with an easier access to his ideas with visual information. So, sa presentation po, ina-allow na po yung user to present information in engaging ways such as text, pictures, sounds, and videos. The use of this presentation encourages us to use writing, speaking, and listening. Microsoft PowerPoint is an example of this. So, some of its tools include other types of software. For example, Microsoft Office includes Outlook, it's in a package, and OneNote. OneNote and information gathering collaboration tool. Yung Office Suite po, yung collection ng productivity software kasama yung word process, spreadsheet, and presentation program. Ito po yung table na nakikita ay comparison ng Office Application Software Suite kung saan category sila nabibilang, kung ano yung word process nila at kung anong application yung pwedeng gamitin sa kanila. Next report.
Good evening, guys. I am Maricel Cuenca, and I'm going to continue the topic of Miss Jenny. And my topic is about cloud computing. So the cloud computing is historically for software to run on a computer. An individual copy of the software had to be installed on the computer, either from a disk or more recently after being downloaded from the internet. So si cloud computing is, dati kasi usually ginagamit natin para makapag-install tayo ng app is hard disk. Ngayon kasi, sa panahon ngayon, more on downloading na tayo through cellphone, through laptop, basta may internet ka. So, sa cloud computing, kailangan mo siyang i-download and then i-install mo siya. So, ano nga ba si cloud computing? So, bago natin maano yung cloud computing, kailangan natin alamin kung ano nga ba si cloud. So, si cloud refers to applications. So, isa siyang application, services, and also data storage din siya sa internet, through on the internet. So, the cloud computing is also offer faster innovation, flexible resources, and economics of scale. So, yan yung ang ano ni cloud computing. So, cloud computing is also the on giant server farms and massive storage devices that are connected by internet protocols. Cloud computing is the use of these services by individuals and organizations. So, Google Drive application, cloud computing, or Salesforce, while these are free versions of cloud computing, there is big business in providing applications and data storage over the web. So, one of the best example of this Google Drive's application is yung Salesforce. Their entire suite of CRM applications are offered by the cloud. Cloud computing is not limited to web applications. It can be also used for services such as phone or video streaming. Gumagamit tayo ng cloud computing example is you're going to open your Gmail through browser. You're also ginagamit mo na siya, yung cloud computing. Meron ka ng cloud computing na ginagamit. Yun yung one of the example of using cloud computing. Next slide, Miss Dayan. Yan. Advantages of cloud computing. First is no software to install or upgrade to maintain. No, so you don't need to install the software or you don't need to maintain your software. So the cloud computing, you don't need to install your software. Next is available from any computer that has access to the internet. Siyempre, kailangan yung computer mo laging may internet para magamit mo si cloud computing. Can scale to a large number of users easily. New applications can be up and running very quickly. So mabilis pa rin siyang gumagana kahit dun sa bago na application. So services can be leased for unlimited time on an as needed basis. And last is your information is not lost if your hard disk crashes or your laptop is stolen. So kasi kapag may cloud computing ka, automatic yung information mo is naka-save na siya. So kahit masira man yung hard disk mo or yung laptop mo or mawala man yan, lahat ng information mo nasa cloud computing na. You are not limited by the available memory or disk space on your computer kasi syempre nga sa cloud computing ay mas malaki na yung storage niya kapag meron kang cloud computing. So next slide, Miss Dayan. So, syempre, kung may advantage ang cloud computing, meron din siyang disadvantages. So, one of the disadvantages of cloud computing is your information is stored on someone else's computer. How safe is it? So, syempre, once na nawala or yung laptop mo or naka-log in yung information mo sa ibang computer, yan lang yung magiging disadvantage. Pwede siyang makita or makuha mo yung mga information mo. Next is, you must have internet access to use it. If you don't have access, you're out of luck. So, yun nga, kailangan lagi kang internet kapag ginagamit mo si cloud computing. You are relying on a third party to provide these services. Cloud computing has the ability to really impact how organizations manage technology. For example, why is an IT department needed to purchase, configure, and manage personal computers and software when all that is really needed is an internet connection? Ay, kung may sagot po kayo doon, comment na lang po ninyo. Using a private cloud, many organizations are understandably nervous about giving up control of their data and some of their applications by using cloud computing, but they also see the value in reducing the need for installing software and adding disk storage to local computers. A solution to this problem lies in the concept of a private cloud. While there are various models of a private cloud, the basic idea is for the cloud service provider to section of web server space for a specific organization. The organization has full control over that server space while still gaining some of the benefits of cloud computing. Ayun nga. Minsan kasi may mga times na syempre nakakatakot nga naman ibigay lahat ng data mo or yung lahat ng information mo kasi syempre mamaya komplikado na yun. May tendency nga na ano siya, pero syempre meron din siyang advantage nga na kapag gumamit ka nga ng cloud computing is mas malaki yung storage na magagamit mo. Yun. So next slide, Miss Dayan. So virtualization. One technology that is utilized extensively as part of cloud computing is virtualization. Virtualization is the process of using software to simulate a computer or some other device. For example, using virtualization, a single computer can perform the functions of several computers. So virtualization kasi, bali, ano lang siya, part ng cloud computing. So, magkaano na sila ng cloud computing. Yun siya yung kasama ni cloud computing. So, yun lang po yung topic ko. Thank you. Next reporter po.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, classmates. My report is about software creation. Software creation is a modern software application. Is written using a programming language, or a programming language consists of a set of command and syntax that can be organized logically, execute specific function. This language is generally consists of the reliable words combined with the symbols. Using the language, programmer writes a program called the source code. Yung source code po, ito po ay binubuo ng mga letra para magawa na isang program. For example, mga games, mga applications sa mga ginagamit na sa cellphone. Yun po. Next slide, please. Example of well-known programming language. These include Java, PHP, and various flavor of C. Visual C plus C++, C number. Languages HTML, JavaScript are used to develop web page. Most of the time, programming is done using programming environment. When you purchase a copy of Visual Studio from a Microsoft, it provides with an editor, compiler, and help from many Microsoft programming language. Software programming is originally an individual process, which is programmer working for an entire program or several programming, each working for a portion larger program. However, never methods or software development includes more collaborative approach with terms of programming working on the codes together will cover. Software development is process of conceiving, designing, programming, and documenting, testing and bug fixing involving creating and maintaining application frameworks. For example, creating online business with search URL or homepage. That's all. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Michelle Siludo and I'm going to discuss the utility software and programming software. So there are two subcategories of application software. These are utility software and programming software. First is utility software. Utility software includes software that allows you to fix or modify your computer in some way. It is designed to help analyze, configure, optimize, or maintain a computer and enhance the computer performance. Example includes antivirus software. Antivirus software is used to protect computer from the virus. And the second is defragmentation software. Defragmentation is a process that physically organizes the content of your hard disk and stores data into a small continuous region. It decreases the degree of fragmentations that help you to increase the speeds of your computer. Next, please. Next slide. Sidebar or PowerPointed to that. So as presentation software, specifically Microsoft PowerPoint, is the primary method of to formally present information in a business setting. But giving an engaging presentation is becoming rare. So dahil na rin siguro may mga presenter na binabasa lang yung mga nakalagay sa slide at hindi na ipapaliwanag ng maayos at hindi na iibigay yung mga information na dapat malaman ng mga nakikinig. And the real problem is not with the PowerPoint, but the person creating and presenting. On the very first page of Seth Godin's ebook, he says that almost every PowerPoint presentation sucks rotten eggs. Next slide, please. Next slide. Oh. The software used to help you communicate should not duplicate the presentation you want to give, but instead it should support it. I highly recommend the book Presentation Zen by Gar Reynolds to anyone who wants to improve their presentation skills. Next, please. Software developers are becoming aware of this problem as well. New digital presentation technologies are being developed with the hopes of becoming the next PowerPoint. One innovative new presentation application is Prezi. Prezi is a presentation tool that uses a single canvas for the presentations, allowing presenter to place text, images, and other media on the canvas, and then navigate between these objects as they present. Just as with PowerPoint, Prezi should be used to supplement the presentations, and we must always remember that that sometimes the best presentations are made with no digital tools. Next, please. Next slide. Ayan. Okay, I owe this software, right? Well, so when you purchase, kung nakabili tayo ng software and in-install natin to sa mga computer natin, hindi tayo yung owner ng software na yun technically. When you install software, you are actually just being given a license to use it. When you first install a software package, you are asked to agree to the terms of service of the license or agreement. In that agreement, you will find that your rights to use the softwares are limited. For example, in the term of the Microsoft Office Excel 2010 software license, you will find the following statement. This software is licensed, not sold. This agreement only gives you some right to use the features included in the software editions you license. For the most part, these restrictions are what, next please, next slide. For the most part, these restrictions are what you would expect. You cannot make illegal copies of the software, and you may not use it to do anything illegal. However, there are other more unexpected terms in the software agreements, Microsoft. Limitations on and exclusion of damages. You can recover from Microsoft and its suppliers only direct damages upon to the amount you paid for the software. You cannot recover any other damages, including contextual, lost profits, specials, indirect, or incidental damages. What this means is that if a problem with the software causes harm to your business, you cannot hold Microsoft or the supplier responsible for the damages. And that's the end of my report. And the next reporter will be Miss Catherine.
Thank you, Ms. Ludo. Okay, so my name is Catherine Lorraine Pili, and I'm going to report about ERP or Enterprise Resource Planning. So ano nga ba yung Enterprise Resource Planning? Ang application ng Enterprise ay isang software solution na nagbibigay ng logic and tools to model entire business processes para sa mga organisasyon upang mapabuti ang pagiging produktibo at kahusayan. Ang mga halimbawa ng ito ay ang billing systems, customer relationship management system, and supplier relationship management systems. Next. Okay. So, sa bawat pagdami ng mga personal computer sa isang organisasyon, yung mga information na nabubuo ng organisasyong yon ay nag-uumpisang masira. So, sample is yung customer service department ay gumawa ng customer database para matrack nila yung mga tawag at problema na naire-report sa kanila. Tapos, yung sa sales department naman ay gumawa rin ng isa pang database para naman matrack nila yung customer information. So, alin sa tingin nyo yung dapat gamitin para maging master list ng customers? Please type your answers in the comment section. Tapos, may isa pang sample. Yung mga nakatoka sa sales, gumawa sila ng spreadsheet para makalculate nila yung mga kita nila. Tapos, yung isa naman sa finance, gumawa rin siya, pero para doon naman yun sa needs ng department nila. So, yung dalawang spreadsheet na yun ay may magkaibang resulta ng revenue. Alin doon ang tama? At sino ba ang dapat humawak ng ganitong impormasyon? Again, type your answers in the comments. Next, please. Okay. So, ang sabi dito, ang ERP or Enterprise Resource Planning System o tinatawag na enterprise software ay ginagawa to bring together an entire organization in one software application. Para sa isang software application na lang sila lahat. Sa madaling salita, ang ERP system ay isang application ng software na gumagamit ng isang central na database na ipinatutupad sa buong organisasyon. Ang ERP ay isang proseso na ginagamit ng mga kumpanya upang pamahalaan at isama ang mga mahalagang bahagi ng kanilang mga negosyo. Maraming mga aplikasyon ng ERP software ang mahalaga sa mga kumpanya because they help them implement resource planning sa pamamagitan ng pagsasama ng lahat ng mga proseso na kinakailangan upang patakbuhin ang kanilang kumpanya sa isang sistema. An ERP software system can also integrate planning, purchasing, human resource, and finance, marketing, sales, and many more. Marami pa. Next. Okay. So, a software application. Ito ay ginagamit ng maraming empleyado ng isang organisasyon. Next is utilizing a central database. Ang ibig sabihin nito ay iisa na ang database na ginagamit nila. Iisang source ang pinagkukunan nila ng impormasyon. Next is that is implemented throughout the entire organization. Yung ERP system daw ay sumasaklaw sa lahat ng mahalagang bahagi ng negosyo. Dagdag dito, ang isang organisasyon ay maaaring bumili ng module para sa ERP na tumutugma sa particular na pangangailangan such as manufacturing or planning. Next, please. Ang mga sistema ng ERP ay original na naimamarket sa malalaking corporations. Gayunpaman, higit pa at mas maraming malalaking kumpanya ang nagsisimulang mag-install ng mga ito. Nagsimulang mag-target
ang mga vendor ng ERP sa mga mid-size at kahit sa mas maliit na mga negosyo. Ang ilan sa mga kilalang ERP system, ang mga mula sa SAP, Oracle at Microsoft na alam ko naman na kilalang-kilala na rin natin. Next is, upang mabisang may patupad ang sistema ng ERP sa isang organisasyon, ang isang organisasyon ay dapat maging handa gumawa ng isang buong pangako or commitment. So parang sa pagjojowa lang, no? Dapat buo ang loob mo at willing to take the risk ka, di ba? So, char. Sa lahat ng aspeto ng isang organisasyon ay maapektuhan sa pagpapalit ng lumang sistema. Sa ERP system, ganun talaga. Pagkatapos ng pakinabangan, bigla ka na lang papalitan. Char. So, may nakaka-relate ba? Sa pangkalahatan, ang pagpapatupad ng isang ERP system ay maaaring tumagal ng 2 hanggang 3 taon at pricey rin siya. Ang gastos ng software ay hindi ang pinakamahal na bahagi ng pagpapatupad, kundi yung gastos sa mga consultants. So, next po. So, why implement an ERP system? Kung nagawa ng maayos ang isang ERP system, ay maaaring magdala ng isang mahusay na pagbabalik ng puhunan. Karamihan sa mga organisasyon ay nakakakita ng isang pangkalahatang improvement sa pagbabalik ng puhunan nila. At pagkatapos na ma-implement ang isang ERP system, so malaki rin talaga yung tulong ng ERP system sa mga business. Next po. Okay. The initial wave of software application development began in the 1960s when applications were developed for mainframe computers. In those days, computing was expensive. So, hanggat maaari, gusto nila na yung mga applications ay maliliit lang yung space na magagamit. So, isa sa mga naisip nila na i-shortcut ng mga programmers ay ang storage of dates. Kasi medyo mahaba nga siya, di ba? Kunyari, September 28, 1991. So, nakaisip sila ng shortcut, lalo na sa year. Instead na 4 digits, ginawa na lang nilang 2 digits. So, which is understandable na yung unang 2 digits ay 19 or 19. Kunyari, ang current date ay 1995, so magiging 95 na lang yon. Tapos, ipinanganak siya noong 1965. So, that is 65 na lang. So, 95 minus 65 equals 30. So, ibig sabihin nun, 30 na yung age ng tao. Next, please. Next, please. So, ayan. So, noong year 2000 naman, kung kunyari, 2012, tapos, pag tinanggal ang 20 doon, tulad ng sa 19, magiging 12 na lang yun. So, yung 65 sa 1965 at yung 12 sa 2012, pag pinag-minus sila, 12 minus 65 equals negative 53 na lang yun. So, magiging error siya, di ba? Para maayos yung problema, kinailangan nilang i-update ulit from 2 digits, naging 4 digits na ulit. So, mahirap yun kasi yung mga code in database ay kailangan nilang i-examine ng mabuti. And then, next please. Para sa mga samahan na isinasaalang-alang ang pag-upgrade ng mga sistema ng ERP noong huling bahagi ng 1990s, ang problemang ito na kilala bilang Y2K or Year 2000 ay nagbigay sa kanila ng dagdag tulak na kailangan nila upang ma-install ang kanilang ERP bago ang taong 2000. Sinasabi ng mga nagtitinda ng ERP na ang kanilang mga system ay idinisenyo para sa Y2K, na nangangahulugang nakaimbak na sila ng mga petsa gamit ang 4 na digit sa halip ng 2. So, prepared na sila, ready na sila sa pagbabagong ito. Humantong ito sa isang napakalaking pagtaas sa pag-install ng ERP in the years leading up to 2000 na ginawang standard na aplikasyon ng software para sa mga negosyo ang ERP. So that's all for my report. Next reporter, please. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, guys. So this is the continuation of our report. So here's my topic. Customer relationship management. A customer relationship management or CRM system is a software application designed to manage an organization's customers. In today's environment, it is important to develop relationships with your customers. And the use of a well-designed or CRM can allow a business to personalize its relationship with each of its customers. Some ERP software systems include CRM modules. An example of a well-known CRM package is Salesforce.
So, customer relationship is not just a CRM system, it's a platform that we can use to build all the functionality that we need. So, by using a software, we get all the information you need to get on one screen and sell faster by easily follow on leads and identify key contacts. Then, see a clear, customizable view of all your sales details. Then, access and update your data anytime with the Salesforce mobile app.
Supply chain management. Many organizations must deal with the complex task of managing their supply chains. At its simplest, a supply chain is the linkage between an organization's suppliers, its manufacturing facilities, and the distributors of its products. Each link in the chain has a multiplying effect on the complexity of the process. If there are two suppliers, one manufacturing facility, and two distributors, for example, then there are 2 times 1 times 2 equals 4 links to handle. However, if you add 2 more suppliers, another manufacturing facility, and 2 more distributors, then you have 4 times 2 times 4 equals 32 links to manage. Next, please. A supply chain management or SCM, system management, the interconnection between these links, as well as the inventory of the products in their various stages of development. A full definition of a supply chain management system is provided by the Association for Operation Management. The design, planning, execution, control, and monitoring the supply chain activities with the objectives of creating building a competitive infrastructure, leveraging world logistics, synchronizing supply with demand, and measure performance globally. Most ERP systems include a supply chain management module. So, CM, supply chain management, sinasabi dito na we need to prepare our materials. So, kailangan kumpleto tayo ng tools and any raw materials. So para pag yung mga customer natin, pag once na napapansin nila na okay yung sistema na experience nila, so yun po yung mangyayari, babalik at babalik sila sa isang kumpanya. So ayun po, from productivity, from production to consumption, kailangan maayos po yung sistema niya bago makarating sa customer. So, yun lang po. Next report na po.
Good evening, guys. So, this is the continuation of reporting. So, mobile applications. So, sa tingin niyo, ano ba yung mobile applications? So, di ba, dito na lahat. So, ito na nga. Just as with the personal computer, mobile din doon na din. Just as with the personal computer, mobile devices such as tablet, computer, and smartphones also have operating system and application software. In fact, these mobile devices are in many ways just smaller version of personal computer. So, pag sinabi mo mobile application, so andito na lahat kagaya ng computer na kung anong meron sa computer, yun din yung meron sa mobile application. So, mobile app is a software application program to run specifically on a mobile device. Smartphones and tablets are becoming a dominant form of computing, with many more smartphones being sold than personal computers. So, ayun na nga, so para siyang computer na personal mo na ginagamit. Yung computer kasi sa bahay lang, so hindi mo siya madadala sa iba't ibang lugar, di kagaya ng cellphone, nabubulsa mo pa siya kasi maliit lang. This means that organizations will have to get smart about developing software on mobile device in order to stay relevant. So next. These days, most mobile devices run on one of two operating systems, which is Android or iOS. Android is an open source operating system purchased and supported by Google. Operating system. In the fourth quarter, so si Apple naman, tawag dito, wala kasi siyang Google Safari yung may hawak sa kanya. So ganon. Kung si Android hawak siya ng Google, si Apple naman hawak siya ng Safari. So parang parehas lang din ng ano. In the fourth quarter of 2012, Android was installed on 70.1% of all mobile phones shipped, followed by 21.0% for iOS. Other mobile operating system of note, the BlackBerry, so buhay pa pala si BlackBerry, 3.2% and Windows 2.6%. As organizations consider making their digital presence compatible with mobile devices, they will have to decide whether to build a mobile app. A mobile app is an expensive proposition, and it will only run on one type of mobile device at a time. For example, if an organization creates an iPhone app, those with Android phones cannot run the application, which app takes several $1,000s to take. This is an trivial decision for many companies. So yung Android kasi, kunwari may i-download kang app, hindi siya namimili kasi yung iPhone kasi namimili kung ano yung i-download mo, yung iba may bayad pa. So yun ang next. One option many companies have is to create a website that is mobile friendly. A mobile website works on all mobile devices and costs about the same as creating an app. We will discuss the question of whether to build a mobile app more truly in chapter 10. So that was my discussion. So next.
Let me discuss you for my topic about open source software. Open source software is a software with source code that anyone can inspect, modify, and enhance. Source code is the part of software that most computers users don't ever see. It's the code computer programmers can manipulate to change how a piece of software, a program or application works. Programmers who have access to computers' program source code can improve the program by adding features to it or fixing parts that don't always work correctly. There are several questions that we need to answer and understand about open source software. First is, what's the difference between open source software and other types of softwares? So what are the types of softwares? Softwares and its type. Number one is computer softwares and its types, application softwares general purposes, word processing, graphic and multimedia software, system software operating system and its function, language processor, utility software, special purpose application software. So since our topic is all about open source software, here we go. Some software has source code that only the person or team or organization who can created it and maintains exclusive control over it can modify. People call this kind of software proprietary or closed source software. Only the original authors of proprietary software can legally copy, inspect, and alter that software. And in order to use proprietary software, computer users must agree, usually by signing a license displayed the first time they run the software. And they will not do anything with the software that the software's authors have not expressly permitted. Microsoft and Adobe Photoshop are examples of proprietary software. Open software source is different. Its authors make its source code available to others who would like to view the code, copy it, learn from it, alter it, or share it. As they do with proprietary softwares, users must accept the terms of a license when they open source software, but the legal terms of open source licenses differs dramatically from those of proprietary licenses. Open source licenses affect the way people can use, study, modify, distribute software. In general, open source licenses grant computers users permission to use open source software for any purpose they wish. Some open source licenses, what some people call copyleft licenses, stipulate that anyone who releases a modified open source program must also release the source of code for the grant program alongside it. Moreover, some open source licenses stipulate that anyone who alters and shares a program with others must also share the program source code without changing a licensing fee for it. By design, open source software licenses promote collaboration and sharing because they permit other people to make modifications to source code and incorporate those with changes into their own project. They encourage computer programmers to access, view, and modify open source softwares whenever they like, as long as they let others do the same way when they share their network. The second question is open source software is only important to computer programmers? The answer is no. Open source technology and open source thinking both benefit programmers and non-programmers. So according to study, the answer is no. So pwede po siyang gamitin for non-programmers and also to all the programmers. So pwede po siyang mag-benefits not just for professional programmers but even to siguro sa mga IT professionals, computer related professionals, so pwede po siyang magamit. Because early inventors built much of the internet itself on open source technologies like Linux, operating system, and Apache web server application, Anyone using the internet today benefit from open source software. The third question is, why do people prefer using open source software? People prefer open source software to proprietary software for a number of reasons, including control, training, security, stability, community. So there are 5 reasons why do people prefer using open source software. So let's go back for number 1, the control. Many people prefer open source software because they have more control over that kind of software. They can examine the code to make sure it's not doing anything they want it to do. So, parang just like any movement, so pwede natin siyang makontrol. Pwede natin halimbawa, malilimitahan natin yung for what we don't have to apply for that specific application. So, makokontrol natin kung halimbawa hindi natin siya preferred gamitin dun sa software na yon. Number 2 is the training. Other people like open source software because it helps them become better programmers. Because open source code is publicly accessible, students can easily study it as they learn to make better software. Students can also share their works with others, inviting comment and critique. As they develop their skills, when people discover mistakes in programs, source code, they can share those mistakes with others to help them avoid making those same mistakes themselves. So every time naman kahit naman sa ang field, training is very important. For you able to master those professions, so training is very important. So parang ito yung sinasabi sa second option for why do people prefer using open source software. The number 3 is security. Some people preferred open source software because they consider it more secure and stable than proprietary software. Because anyone can view and modify open source software. Someone might spot incorrect errors of commission that the program's original authors might have been asking for permission from original authors. Stability, many users preferred open source software for proprietary software for important long-term projects. Because programmers publicly distribute the source code for open source softwares, users relying on that software for critical tasks can be sure their tools won't disappear or fall into disrepair if their original creators stop working on them. Additionally, open source software tends to both incorporate and operate according to open standard. Stability. So just like for some individual people, for example, a person who's trying to upgrade their profession, so stability is very important. So anyone naman, for example, we individuals, so parang we are hoping for stability in our career, for studies. For some, siguro, any kind of reasons, stability is very important. The next is the community. Open source softwares often inspires a community of users and developers to form around it. That's not unique to open source. Many popular applications are the subject of meetups and user groups. But in the case of open source, the community isn't just a fan base that buys in emotionally or financially to an elite users group. It's the people who produce, test, use, promote, and ultimately affect the software they love. So upon buying or purchasing a product, community is very important. So they are the one who might produce, siguro sila yung nagpapakilala ng product. That's why some people or the clients, the buyers can recognize para naman mabili yung isang produkto, which is the open source code. Okay.
So that's all, guys. Our topic. Thank you for listening, and I hope you earn some knowledge what would be what topic we talk about today. And see you guys again. Thank you. Have a nice day.